Hello and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I'm your host, Tyler Weeman. We're going to be talking Thanksgiving NFL DFS. We got a 3-game slate to go over. Before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 a month gets you access to all we do, the props, the DFS. You get it all for one low price. We also have a free trial option. If you've never tried us out before, come take a peek for free. You can get 7 days free. Why not try it out? Try it out for this lovely Thanksgiving 3-game slate we got. And maybe you got a little edge over, the field, just sitting there entering a lineup while they're on the couch. Anyways, let's dive in. Let's get after it. We got a nice 3-game slate here. So, as always, I want to start off by going over the teams and the game situation a little bit. So, we got 3 games, obviously. We have the Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers, the first game of the day. It's a 48.5 game total game. Now, there's an aspect of this that I think is very interesting. Green Bay is going to be going very, very low owned tomorrow. And they are an offense that generally, their pace of play, their aggressiveness is caused by the other team. They need the other team to punch them in the mouth a little bit to speed up. If that happens, I think Green Bay and this game has a great shot to go over, and it's definitely a possibility. Second game of the day, we got Dallas versus KC. It's 52.5. A lot of people are going to go this way. I actually am a little concerned that this one could go under, whereas I like Detroit, Green Bay possibly going over. And then I think Baltimore and Cincinnati is a very interesting one as well. But this Dallas and KC game, the issue with me for this game is the Dallas Cowboys defense has been improving. They're getting healthy. They got Quinnen Williams, and we're definitely seeing a little change in that defense. Now, they're still not good, and a quarterback with the ability of Patrick Mahomes can definitely pick them apart. But I have a little bit of reservation. I don't think it's the slam KC spot like a lot of people do believe. Then Dallas at home has been very good all season long. But you have the KC defense, which has been solid and, makes offenses really, really work for it. Baltimore versus Cincinnati, there's clear upside in this game. I think it really comes down to, though, can Baltimore figure it out? They've been struggling a little bit on offense. Can they figure it out versus a poor Cincinnati defense? If they can, there's huge upside in this game versus Joe Burrow. But then we talk about Joe Burrow, who has been out since week 1, and he is a notorious slow starter to start the season. Now there's no training camp. He's practiced for like 2 weeks and thrown right out there. At least it's versus the Baltimore defense that hasn't been good, but also another defense that's been playing a little bit better recently. So I think there's a very interesting case to be made about all of these games. And while Detroit, Green Bay may be going overlooked a little bit, I think there's definitely signs where it could be a very interesting one to get after. But let's break it down position by position like we always do. We're starting on DraftKings. We'll go mainly through DraftKings as there's just a little bit bigger contest there, but I do like playing on both sides, and I'll do our best to cover both of them. The quarterback, our highest owned quarterbacks are Mahomes and Jackson. I am fine with playing either, but I don't feel like I have to. I am very interested in Jordan Love or Jared Goff. Now, there's a couple things here. Jordan Love, if the Lions come out, say, get up to 10-0 quick or 14-0, and that lights the fire under the Packers, we have a super efficient Jordan Love who, when he gets the opportunities to really throw it out, has filled the stat sheet. 43 attempts, 31 for 337, and 3 tutties versus Dallas. Versus Pittsburgh, 35 attempts, 360, and 3. When he gets those higher, attempts, his efficiency really, really starts working for him. So while he doesn't look like one of the best plays on the slate, there's absolutely a path for him to be that, and he's going to go a bit overlooked. So I like Jordan Love here. Jared Goff, I like the game. I mean, Packers defense is very solid, but this Lions offense is in a very weird situation. There's no Laporta, no Brock Wright, no Khalif Raymond. And with that, they got JMO, they have Amon-Ra, and they have Gibbs that are going to get absolutely crazy volume on this game because there's really not much else to go to. So I think Goff becomes a lot easier to stack than normal. Then we got Dak Prescott, who obviously has great weapons and at home has just been dominant for, years now. And then we got Joe Burrow, smoking Joe Burrow, to talk about, who is, a notorious slow starter. Missing T. Higgins, but versus Ravens offense. So I honestly don't think you can go too wrong with the quarterback you are picking. I think there's absolutely ways to play every one of these guys. Jordan Love is one of my favorite low-owned. If I'm going high-owned, I think Patrick Mahomes is a solid option. He's going to run. He's going to give you upside there. Lamar Jackson, he hasn't been good the last few weeks, but it's Lamar Jackson. They need to keep winning. This is a divisional game. If there's ever a time where he's going to put on his Superman cape and really let it run, it is absolutely versus a divisional opponent where they must win to, continue to have a chance for this division. And we've seen shootouts in these Cincinnati versus Baltimore games for years. 35-34 last year, 41-38 year before, 34-20, 27-4. I think there's absolutely plenty of work to do here from the quarterback. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying this is exactly who you have to play at quarterback, but the thing is, I think these stacks we're using in this situation as more of a way to get the guys we really feel like we have to play. Now, quarterback on FanDuel, our high-owned we got here, it's same, Mahomes and Jackson. And then Love is the lowest owned. He's also the cheapest on FanDuel. I think that's super interesting. A super interesting way to build. All right, let's talk running back now. We got Derrick Henry, 47% owned, highest owned on the slate, and I think he's an absolute smash play. The Cincinnati Bengals have just got crushed on the ground, and with no Justice Hill behind Derrick Henry, I think King Henry may really, really be the king in this spot. Bengals defense allowing 131 yards per game, 0.8 touchdowns per game. Over the last four, that's up to 145 yards per game and 0.8 touchdowns. I love the spot for King Henry. If this is a big slate, I think he would be one that we got to look to. On a small slate, I'm going to go real high on my ownership for him. I'm not exactly sure how much, but I could easily go 70-75% on him, I think. We got Chase Brown at 6,500, 33% owned. My biggest issue about Chase Brown in this spot, we have seen this run of very good games with big volume, but it was out without Samaje Perine. Samaje Perine was a full participant all week, and it looks like he will be back. If he is back and he is taking some of this workload, Chase is significantly worse, and he goes more back into this range where he's giving you, those mid double digits or mid teens type score, which isn't going to be a difference maker. And on a big time slate like this, I don't want to go to a high owned guy that's not going to be a difference maker. I don't care if I have a little bit. There's just not a ton of running backs to choose from, but Chase Brown, of these two high-owned guys, is the one I would be getting off of. As far as some pivot action, Jahmyr Gibbs also going to be extremely high-owned, and I love him in this spot. One of the things that I think is interesting with no Brock Wright, no Sam Laporta, is that Gibbs just gets more targets. And that, I mean, anytime he touches the ball, he has that ability to take it for the house. Last week, 12 targets. I mean, if you're going to give this man 12 targets, I just want to play him every single week. That kind of workload with the carries is just so hard to not want to play. You go to the week before, 8 targets. The week before that, 4. He's been heavily used since since Laporta has been out. And I don't, I absolutely like that. The ceiling is there as we know it. And I think you need to consider him. David Montgomery, I don't feel like I have to play. Javonte Williams, he's versus a very tough KC defense. The way he gets there, though, is the other running backs don't really do much. And he ends up having an okay game, 70 total yards, and falls into the end zone. And then, the other guys just don't get touchdowns or are right around the same, and he's a similar price. So I don't love playing him, but I don't mind having a little bit. It's too small of a slate not to at least put him as a possibility. Josh Jacobs, 6,800. He's coming off his being out. They said that he could have probably gone last week, but held off to play this Thanksgiving game versus Detroit. Ended up being a good idea because they still won 23-6. Now, this offense is way better with Jacobs on the field. So for your for your Jordan Love lineups, having Jacobs out there still helps. I don't love the spot. Lions, number 1 versus running back. It's not an easy one for him, but he could absolutely still get 2 touchdowns. Lions have been very good versus the rush, but Jacobs is a beast. Their O-line's solid. It could happen. Definitely not a priority for me. My priorities at running back are absolutely Gibbs and Henry. I like them better than anybody else by a long way. Let's get into some pivots now. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. 5,300. I would rather Kareem Hunt than Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco's coming back from injury, but the thing that I like with Hunt, these, 30 carry, 3 target games are gone with Pacheco. That's not going to be there, but he could absolutely go back to 10, 11 touches, but he gets the goal line work. And we know with KC, that means something. He can absolutely get a touchdown. Like I said with Javonte, if these top end running backs don't do all that much, you get a guy that gets 50 yards and a touchdown at 5K could be enough. I don't mind Kareem Hunt as a cheap option. I think he is interesting. I also wanted to talk about Brashard Smith. Now, it is not likely he's going to get much playing time. He probably gets 18, 20%, but there is upside there. He can get 3-4 targets and he can house one or, take it for 40, 50 yards and be optimal that way. At only 4,200, it's not the worst play in the world. I don't love it. I actually would prefer going to a 2 tight end option for a pay down, but I want to bring up Brashard Smith just enough because he has been a playmaker a little bit and we have seen them calling design stuff just for Brashard Smith. And the last kind of pivot I wanted to talk about is Keaton Mitchell. Sorry. He is in that great spot versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The running back passing game has just dominated the Bengals. 5 receptions a game for 46 yards a game. And that could all be Mitchell's with Justice Hill out. So I think he's an interesting spot. He's going to pick up a lot of that work that Justice Hill left on the table. Either that or it's Derrick Henry just out there 70, 75, 80% of the time. And if that's the case, Derrick Henry is an absolute smash. So I think both those guys are interesting. Getting on over to running back on FanDuel, Gibbs and Henry, the 2 highest owned. and Chase Brown, the same kind of talk goes over here. Pricing's not all that different. Chase Brown of those is definitely low on my totem pole. And Gibbs, Henry, I mean, I'm going to have to play a decent amount of that. Wide receiver action. So, Rashee Rice, he is one of the plays I feel like I have to play or have to. I'm going to have a ton of him. The consistency, there's known points on these small slates. The known points are so key. Now, if you're playing the giant, Millie Maker 200K to first on FanDuel, we're going to have to be almost optimal. And the most likely situation is Rashee Rice ends up being optimal. He's not that high, not that expensive. We know he's, probably giving us 20 to 30 points. And I don't mind just taking that and running with it. I feel more comfortable about Rice in this spot than I do Jamar Chase. The only reason I say that is, now Jamar Chase is without Higgins, so there's extra volume going his way. But the only reason I say that is the fact that Joe Burrow is just back, this week, and it's the first week he's playing, which he's been a slow starter. But I do absolutely like Chase still. Christian Watson at 4,700. He is way too low priced. He's playing like 80% of the snaps now. Detroit Lions play a ton of man, and he is the Packers man beater. He has an 18-yard ADOT versus man. He had 2 red zone targets over the last 2 weeks. The Green Bay Packers wide receiver cores beat up. I think he is the given to get some work, and he's been playing more than Romeo Doubs lately. I think Watson at 4,700 is a slam. I'm going to have a ton of him. Xavier Worthy at 4,500. I don't feel like I need to play. He is way more hit or miss. He hasn't really done much all season, but Dallas Cowboys are susceptible deep. And that is how Worthy gets there. I'm playing Worthy probably only in Mahomes stacks. I don't love that play outside of with Mahomes. Jamar Chase, I talked about it. I love it. Jamison Williams at 4,800. Look, if you're playing a Detroit Lions stack on this slate, you're probably trying to play Gibbs, Williams, Amon-Ra, and Goff all together. While all 4 of them may be high owned, all 4 of them together probably aren't that high owned. So if I'm playing that, I'm probably going mega stack. But Jamison Williams is interesting. He has not done as good as Amon-Ra versus zone. Hasn't done as well as Gibbs versus zone either, but he does have that 16-yard ADOT versus zone. So there is definite pass to him being able to get deep and make it happen. Romeo Doubs, I'm fine. He's kind of a Jordan Love stack only thing for me, though. I don't love him as a one-off. Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, both in play. I kind of like CeeDee a little bit more in this one, even though Pickens has had the games that you really must have had. He's been better than CeeDee all year long. CeeDee's been, dealing with some drops. But when they're priced pretty much the same, I think this Cowboy team is going to need to get CeeDee going. And he's still getting, huge target share. One of those giant games is coming for CeeDee. While his price is down, I would absolutely jump on that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7,800. He is up there with a Rashee Rice as far as me needing to play him. I think he is in an excellent spot. And versus zone, 69% catch rate. He leads the team with 565 yards on 65 targets and has a 12.6 ADOT. So ADOT's not too much less than Williams, but there's just so much more volume going that route. And Laporta is the guy that has been the most consistent versus zone. Without him, I think Moore is just going to fly into Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamar Gibbs' wheelhouse. Mitch Tinsley at 3,500 is extremely interesting to me, and he is probably one of my favorite cheap value options. Now, Tinsley, we saw in the preseason really come up. Last game, he had 6 targets, 2 for 29 and a tutty. And he played like 75% of snaps, 78. And without T. Higgins, he should be right back there in this spot. We know Yosevas is going to be playing a little bit more than him, but I kind of like Tinsley more. There's a little bit of the unknown factor with him. And we've seen now they've used him in the red zone, so I definitely am very interested in him. Dontavian Wicks at 3,400. He's going to play routes. He can get separation. It's just, can he catch the ball? He needs to be considered. Then I want to bring up Isaac Tesla. Khalif Raymond is out. Isaac Tesla and Raymond both ran like 40% of the snaps last game. Without Raymond, would not be, and with the tight end troubles for the Lions, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla gets up to like 60%, and we've seen him be able to make some big time plays. So I don't hate the Isaac Tesla, way down the totem pole play. Getting on over to wide receiver on FanDuel, High-owned Dobbs, Flowers, and Watson. Definitely like Watson. Dobbs, I'm only doing love stack. Flowers at 7,100. If I'm playing Lamar Jackson, I don't mind it. However, the Bengals have been beat by tight ends and running backs. If Zay Flowers really ends up being 35% owned, I don't feel like I need to play him. He's literally been putting up scores like Xavier Worthy, but he is more expensive. And I don't have to go there. Xavier Worthy's coming in high owned too. Another spot I don't got to get there. I think wide receiver, we can absolutely get a little different on this slate. Let's get over to tight end. Now, normally I'm saying, we're not going to play two tight end slates. On this slate, I absolutely love it. I don't mind playing Andrews and Likely together. Look at these stats for the Bengals versus wide receiver. Versus tight end. It is insane. Almost 88 yards a game, 1.2 touchdowns on the season. Over the last 4, 106.5 yards per game and 1 touchdown per game. I think you can play Likely and Andrews together. I don't hate just going, say, Andrews, Likely, even Henry and Jackson, or Keaton Mitchell and Jackson. I don't hate going at it that way. I think it's going to be different. I don't think both those tight ends are going to be owned together very much, even though they're both at 28% owned. I think one is going to end up being, just having one of those is the most likely way people will build. Travis Kelce is like tight end 2 on the year. You absolutely need to consider him in this spot versus Dallas. Dallas hasn't. They've been around average versus tight end, so it's a fine spot. And over the last 4, Kelce is 74.8 yards a game and has 2 touchdowns. So there's big time upside with Travis Kelce, and he's used a ton in the red zone, which that matters, for everything on these slates. Jake Ferguson at 5,100. KC, over the last 4 games, got beat up versus tight ends. 78 yards a game, 0.5 touchdowns. Opponent rank is 27th. You could do worse than going with Jake Ferguson. Now, our pivot action, our super low owned, getting weird, Mike Gesicki, 3,100. He is too cheap, and they use him as a receiver without Higgins. He had huge games last season without Higgins. That can absolutely come back. They'll use him in the slot. They'll use him as a tight end. They'll use him all over the formation. In his first game back last week, he played 43% of the snaps. I would not be surprised if that gets up to 60 in this spot. Now, the issue is that if he's getting up to 60, either Yosevas or Tinsley probably has their snap count come down. So just be aware of that when you're building. Then, Detroit Lions, already said, no Brock Wright, no Sam Laporta. It's Ross Dwelly's up. And we have seen in years prior where, he was serviceable in San Francisco as a backup. I think you could do worse than going with Dwelly at literally the stone minimum. I think there's some upside there, and I don't mind if you want to get a bit different and go with it. Now, Anthony Fursker is also going to play. Dwelly last week only played 3% of the snaps. So, I mean, they're going to have a tight end out there, and it's going to either be him or Fursker. But I don't hate going that route. Hopefully, he can get a red zone target. If so, at 2,500, there's a little bit of a path, but that is a way down the list, kind of crazy. And then John Fitzpatrick has actually been out there more than Musgrave, who people are using as the Packers tight end. He has been out there for like 60%, where Musgrave is like 30% of the snaps. So just understand that he could get in the end zone, and maybe that's his path to being optimal. Musgrave's 38% last week, 35% the week before, whereas Fitzpatrick's 64% in week 11 and 61% in week 12, with Josh Weil at 36 and 41 the last 2 weeks. So you could, in case of emergency, go Weil as well. But that's getting real wild. All right, and let's get on over to the tight end on FanDuel. Andrews, Gesicki, same thing over here. I don't mind playing Andrews and Likely together. I don't mind 2 tight end builds on this. There's just a lot of tight ends I like, and touchdowns are king on these smaller slates. So getting different with 2 tight ends does interest me. And on to the defense. It's a real tough week for defense. So we can go wherever we want pricing wise. Pricing is a little bit soft on both sites, so we can really figure it out. But I will likely be paying down for defense. I don't think there's big time upside with going with like the Lions or Ravens in this spot. So Packers, Chiefs, Bengals, and Cowboys are all in my wheelhouse. I'll be mixing and matching and sending it that way. That'll do it for us today, guys. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And as always, come join us at LineStar. Good old $39.99 or a free trial option if you've never tried us out before. Appreciate you guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll talk to you all